welcome to the Wright Perspective. Today, we are going to recap and discuss a romantic comedy from 2002, Brown Sugar. The movie stars Taye Diggs, Sanaa Lathan, Mos Def, Nicole Ari Parker, Boris Kodjoe, and Queen Latifah. And it was written by Michael Elliot and directed by Rick Famuyiwa. It was nominated for 7 NAACP Image Awards. It grossed $28 million on an $8 million budget. I mean, frankly, the cast alone could be enough to make this movie a classic. But today, we will determine whether Brown Sugar is a classic from the Wright Perspective. We'll do a recap and discuss plot and direction, characters and acting, cinematography, sound, music, whatever comes to mind. And then we'll take a vote using a voting symbol that is picked especially for this discussion. But we got to start with intros. Kick us off, bro.
Hi, I'm Aubrey. Hello, I'm Aubrey Wright.
It's an early morning session. I'm Genia Wright, and I'm the middle.
There it is.
Oh, boy.
For those of you who are listening, she's holding up her copies of
multiple
the VHS and the DVD of Brown Sugar.
And this DVD has full and widescreen versions. And I am Brittany, and I am the youngest.
And she's the youngest, and obviously the person who recommended we review this. Obviously, her enthusiasm is apparent. Oh my gosh.
I'm going to start tracking whether or not she says the middle syllable in her name and how that translates to how she does the podcast, like what type of mood she's in. I'm gonna start figuring that out. Like with the middle, like when she's Brittany, what does that mean? And when she's Brittany, what does that mean? I'm gonna start figuring that out.
All you need to know is that both mean get it together.
I got it. All right.
Okay, whew, that was a close one. I thought Brittany was going to say life is jazz, don't box her
Listen!
It is, though. It is.
It is jazz, don't box me in.
It is. Sweetie DB. Sweetie. Skibbity bop bop.
Zibbity bop
Oh my gosh, y'all. I love my brother and sister. I do. This randomness gives y'all, we have to pick a voting symbol for today's recap. And it's so funny because I watched the movie like well ahead of our recording session, and I gave myself way more time than I usually do, but I still only came up with 2 potential voting symbols. So I just have 2 that feel so apparent to me.
Hit me with them. Hit me with them.
Come up with any?
To me,
I know Brittany's gonna do it in the moment. She's gonna figure it out as she go.
To me, there's only one symbol that we can use. So
okay, well here,
but,
all right.
But I need to hear my Genia symbols, please.
I have 2,
and I need the reasoning.
The first one I like. The second one I love.
Okay.
All right. The first one is a cipher. Okay, because as we know, the question that keeps getting asked throughout the movie is, when did you fall in love with hip hop? And for the 2 main characters, we know the moment. It was when they witnessed.
Hold on, can I pause for 1 minute? Can I pause for 1 second? Can I pause for 1 second? I just want everybody to know. I know some of you all think we're doing a bit when we do this, like that. This is
not
my
a
sister.
test.
This is not a test. And I just want everybody to know that. Okay, I just want everybody to know that. So we're back. Cypher, and we're talking about when we fell in love with hip hop. Go ahead.
Because that's when they fell in love with hip hop. Okay.
So you want the symbol to be a group of people.
It's a cipher. It's the collection of people together in a moment of hip hop artistry.
How's that even a symbol?
Okay, that's the symbol.
All right.
What's number 2?
The second one is a park bench. Why? I'm glad you asked. So, at the beginning, again, in that iconic moment when they really fell in love with hip hop, they were on a park bench. When Dre walked away from that career that was not fulfilling him, and they had that moment together where they were planning for their futures together, and he started his hip hop label. Guess where they were? They were on a park bench. Okay, this is when their love was so real, it was crystallizing for all of us. And then at the end, what happens? A song from Dre's label is playing, and we see children listening to the song. And what are they doing?
When
And they're
Putting
you
on a
falling
park
in
bench.
love.
remind
Y'all, it's
Uh,
just because the bench
uh,
represents community. That's what the
Indeed.
bench represents. The bench represents the
Mm.
organic experience of coming across something that delights you. And and this is where the two of them discovered their destiny, and where they discovered each other, and where they discovered love. It's the
I
park bench,
just,
y'all.
I just love,
We're
I just
Yes.
done.
love, I
We're
just
done here.
love,
We're done. We're done here.
I just love this. I love
Bro,
this
is that the
part.
one you were
Podcast.
saying that it obviously needed to be? A park bench?
Clearly not. No, but I'm gonna tell you, like, it's the thing I love about this part is I it lands every time. I just love it every time. I love your thought process. It is so you. It's just I just love it. I just love it.
So park bench
But
it is.
no, but both of those are terrible ideas. But yes, Brittany.
Oh.
So it's so funny because I told Janiyah earlier, I said, I thought of something that you might say during your time of giving us a symbol. And I thought Janiyah was going to say a check because of when Sydney wrote the check and how that would just exploded everything when it came to
The jig was up.
when it
Yeah,
came
it
to
was up that day.
starting
You know-
Dre's label, his wife not knowing, like it all just started by her writing this check.
Brittany, I think you know what I think. Excuse me. You just created another small segment that we could do. That I think, because in watching these movies, I think it would be fun if me and you come up with one guest that's going to be on Janiyah's list, and try to get one. Because I would love to do that. I would love to. I think it would give me another dimension of enjoyment watching movies. Like thinking of. And if we hit one, Janiyah, you gotta
You
admit
mean
it.
watching deeply for themes?
Yes, watch it deeply.
I think that's a great idea.
All right. Yes, we should do
My
that at least from time to time. All right, but good, Brittany. So what are your...
But off the top, I thought of the blue vase that she had in her apartment because it was in several scenes, and they picked it out in that furniture store, wherever they were.
Mhm.
And also I thought about, of course, just because it was, when did you fall in love with hip hop? A microphone or a mixtape, a boombox, something along those lines that was musical for the two of them. So, and now along the lines of Janiyah, I did also think of a pen because she used to write. You're welcome. She was
Brittany,
writing, and he used to read
Brittany,
all of
usually
her
you're-
articles.
You're usually so good with these, and then you let Janiyah draw you in.
She drew me in.
But
She drew me in.
But let me tell you, you hit it. To me, the only symbol has to be a mic. It has to be a mic.
I can't believe I can't believe you just said that.
Has to be.
It has to be
It
a
has
mic
to be.
on top of a bench.
Bro, a mic? Really? You're so adamant about it. Y'all,
Oh,
neither
no.
A
one
mic
of
on
them
top of
is
a bench
hip-hop-
in the middle of a cipher.
Neither one of them is a hip hop artist. They didn't interact with a microphone except for at the end, maybe when she was on a radio show. But y'all,
Let me
they
explain
aren't
something to you.
performers.
Let me explain something to you.
This love story is not about two people that are performers.
This show is called...
How do we pick a symbol that is about these people?
Let me. What I'm telling you is, what is the name of this movie?
Brown Sugar.
And
Brown Sugar is the perfect woman.
Bro, you lost your point, didn't you? Because you thought the movie was named Hip Hop Microphones or something. Now, y'all,
Brown Sugar,
for us to use a microphone, it would make it, the thing about hip hop in this movie is that it was a force, it was a presence that was a through line in their lives and in their relationship. And it was part of what bound them. But this movie was about this couple. Okay. And neither of them are musicians. We had one that was a critic, a renowned critic, and we had one that was a producer and like a label executive. I don't think a microphone embodies either of them or their relationship.
Well, let me.
It does. Now, if this was a generic movie about hip hop, then I think a mic would obviously make sense.
Or
the ones and twos.
Let me make one argument.
Do you even know what the ones and twos are?
I know people use them.
Let me make one argument, and then I will secede to the majority. Okay. To me, from the very beginning, when they saw each other in the cipher that Jedi is talking about.
That's right. And good option.
And even in the end, all the way through the end, where they're on a radio show, this story is centering around hip hop. That is what the story centers around. And what I'm saying is the mic is the center of hip hop. The mic is the center of this entire culture. It's what starts it off. It's what emceeing is. And I'm saying without that, they wouldn't have had the relationship that they had, and they wouldn't have gone through every single step of the relationship.
I wish that I had a level of savvy about hip hop that would enable me to say something about hip hop starting on the streets where there were no microphones. Okay.
Well, yeah.
All right.
I'm not going to.
About the fact that it was organic. It came from the hearts. Okay, of the people.
I'll tell you that.
The
Janiyah, you're out of your depth.
All right. I figured I could.
You're out of your depth.
I couldn't defend that point. I knew that immediately.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is yes, this is a love story, but every aspect of this love story goes back to the music. That's every single aspect. There's no aspect of this that doesn't attach to the music. If you take away the music, this story just doesn't exist.
Well, one thing is for sure, you're 100% wrong. But because we're tight on time,
I'll secede to
Brittany, as usual. I think Brittany, we have two options that have been adamantly presented here. We have a microphone and we have a park bench. Sis, what is the symbol for today?
I do not want
one of the options is great. One isn't.
And I'm down with either. I feel like I've said my piece. I'm ready to go with the majority.
I'm gonna go with. Oh, this is so hard.
We know you're gonna go with.
I'm gonna go with the park bench.
What is
that's right.
I gotta find a sound effect.
Subvert your expectations.
That's on the ones and twos.
You know what? Here's the thing. I just really feel like this is a movie about winning. And I want Janiyah. She's been through so much adversity for our podcast. We never pick her symbols. And
I'm okay with that. Let's do it.
I want her to win.
A park bench. That is.
Thank you.
Whenever I see a park bench, I do think of brown sugar. So. Can I be honest with y'all about earlier about the brain aneurysm that I had? And it's so bad. Like, I don't even want to admit this, but I feel like
you have to.
I just have to.
We all know something happened.
Look, my point was the same. Okay. But when I asked what the title is, and I don't know why, it's because I'm turning 43 this year, probably. For a brief moment.
Don't blame it on Father's time.
I don't have another reason For a brief moment, the movie title morphed into my head into Love and Hip Hop. I don't know why.
We get it.
And when I said it, because when I said that, and it was only when I said that.
Well, bro, but you know what? You know what you have done though, bro? Is you have segued us right to the recap of the movie.
Why?
That's
because the movie is about love and it is also about hip hop.
And I feel like it would have been an equally good title, you know,
I
to the
agree with
movie,
you, bro.
but somehow for that.
And it could even be a subtitle. It could be Brown Sugar, Love and Hip Hop.
And it was just for that second, the title of the movie in my head literally was Love and Hip Hop. And I really felt like I was about to land this point. But the point was
that let me know how much it got into your heart. It transcended. It got into your heart.
I'm looking forward to discussing this. So let's get through the recap.
Let's get rolling. The recap is quick. You know, the movie centers, and again, spoiler alert, if you're a new listener, we recap the movie because our content is usually covering stuff that was from a minute ago. And so we do a recap in case you haven't seen it in a while, you don't really remember, or in case you haven't seen it yet and you want to follow the podcast discussion.
This movie is almost 20 years old. It's 19 years old.
And wow, yeah, I didn't even think about that. And I would say an extra spoiler alert because we're going to be talking about funny parts in the movie. I'm sure that would be better if you see them for the first time in the scope of the movie.
Yeah.
So there's all spoilers, but I think for me, especially on this one, there are just moments that are best.
If you hear it first, it's going to take a while. Yeah. I agree with you, bro. I agree with you. So let me get through the recap. It's pretty brief, y'all. You know, the movie centers around, I'm going to edit the first sentence, love and hip hop. It centers around two best friends, Sydney, who's played by Sanaa Lathan, and Dre, played by Taye Diggs. Sydney is a well-known and revered music critic and magazine editor with a book deal, and Dre is a successful music executive. Both have built their careers around their passion for hip hop, a musical genre that they discovered together 15 years prior. In 1984, when they witnessed a very special moment in their local park, 3 hip hop artists performing. And these are people that eventually became well known: Slick Rick, Dana Dane, and Dougie Fresh. Syd, in some ways, is still in that moment. She loves hip hop and she loves her work. And she's known for starting her interviews with hip hop artists with the question, when did you fall in love with hip hop? You know, so she's still living in that passion. Meanwhile, Dre has lost some of that magic. His career is really about making money for the label at this point, and he's watching them choose money over quality music all the time. Now, romantically for them, things are reversed. Dre is rolling. He's in love with a woman named Reese, played by Nicole Ari Parker. And during the course of the movie, he proposes, they get married. Sydney is dating an NBA player, Boris Kodjoe, enough said. And she really cares for him. The character's name is Kelby, but she's not fully in it. Why? Well, it's because she has realized that she is in love with Dre. And, you know, and she's also realizing that she probably always has been and is starting to tear her apart. Eventually, Dre starts to face the fact also that he has feelings for Sydney that are real and deep. And it turns out that he had even tried to take it there at some point in their adult life. And Sydney, you know, dashed it. Over time, things started to get complicated. It was like they stole a kiss the night before Dre's wedding. You know, he goes on with the marriage, and Sydney goes on with her relationship with Kelby, but now there's this undertone, okay, and it's making their friendship really, really hard. And it's important to note that Kelby and Reese have been observing this friendship, and they don't love it. Okay, because Syd and Dre are so very close. I mean, that finishing each other's sentences, oh, we have so many shared stories from our history, kind of close, like sharing lives together rhythm, kind of close. And in fact, when Dre reaches a breaking point with his job and quits to start his own label, he doesn't go to his wife. He talks to Sydney about it first. And so that gives you a sense of how close they are in a way that always made their partners feel like there was just a distance or something going on there. So when Sydney finishes the book, she's on the radio and she's pitching it, and Dre is listening. And her dedication for the book is a coded message for Dre. And Brittany, I wanted you to give the to say what the dedication was.
Yes, it was I Used to Love Her, which is a play on words from Common's famous hip hop song about hip hop. I used to love her. I always have, and I always will. And that was her dedication to Dre, but just
she doesn't name his name.
Coded.
She doesn't name his name, but it is for him, and he knows it. And so he rushes down to the radio station to proclaim his love, and they can finally be together because his marriage fell apart because his wife was cheating on him. Sanaa finally admitted to Kelby at some point that Sydney finally admitted to Kelby at some point that her heart was just wasn't in it with him. So that's how that's the arc of the basic love story. Now there were lots of other things that were really special about the movie, including splices of interviews, cameos with real and well-known hip hop artists. And there was this really sweet kind of secondary love story between two side characters that were being played by Queen Latifah and Mos Def. So we can get into those pieces in the discussion, but that's the recap. I think those are the main parts.
So good.
All right, Marriott.
Fantastic as always.
Thanks, as bro. Always. Thanks, sis.
As always. And I wish I could find the ball, but I can't. You know why, Janai? Because you knocked it out the park.
It's gone.
It's not even in the park anymore.
It's gone.
Oh, check and see. It might be over there by that bench. Yes. Bench.
Can we just leave it alone? I'm trying to wrap my mind around this bench.
I apologize, bro, and I apologize, podcast land.
Hey, symbolism.
This is why we don't let her win.
Sis, you got to kick us off though, sis, because you picked this movie. You know, you recommended it as a classic for us to review. Tell us about that, sis. Why Brown Sugar?
So I will tell you, I admit to all of the planet. I love corny movies, and I have no issue with that. I'm very proud of myself for that, and I will name every last cornball movie that will never get an award that I love.
She owns it.
Okay? They will not. But the reason why I appreciate them is oftentimes the message that is in them and the feeling I get when I'm walking away from them. And that is what Brown Sugar did. And it makes you feel good to see two friends, even though it took some time, come together and fall in love. And it's telling just this story. I think oftentimes where it's one of those things where people can see it, but you can't. And so because you're in it, you're too close to it, and you fought against it for so long. And now all of a sudden you realize that this is my missing piece. This is the part that makes everything else make sense. And because you've become so comfortable with it, you know, you gravitate towards it without even realizing it. So I just always appreciated, this was just a fun rom-com. I've always appreciated how it is. Of course, we can get into a technical conversation about rom-coms. We're not going to do that. We're just what we're going to do is,
and maybe we will, and maybe
we
might have a tablespoon of that.
And maybe we will.
You know, we're not going to box it out.
But I will tell you, William Elliot, the writer and producer of this movie, I realized when I looked him up that
Michael Elliot.
Excuse me, what I call him. I'm sorry, Michael Elliot. I looked him up, and I own 3 of the movies that he has written and produced. Just Right is one of my other favorite movies as well. Mike is not one of my other favorite movies, but it's still just a fun movie to watch. And so I appreciate I love seeing also hip hop artists be more than just rappers or you know, hip hop artists. Like, I love seeing them do and expand and look at their talent just be amazing. So that was another reason why I love this movie, because Mos Def, I think he is so cute. That's not his name anymore. I don't know what his new name is. and he doesn't live here. But isn't his name? He lives in Africa now. Like something's going on.
Yeah,
I
he
don't know.
changed his name.
Yasiin Bey.
Thank you. And so I love Yasiin. Okay. I think he's so cute. I think he is hilarious. And I also love Queen Latifah. So, but I just appreciated them being in this movie. So
I had to pull off of my bookcase. This is Yasiin Bey. He had a musical and art installation that has been traveling around the country called Negus, Negus. And this was actually the wrapper for a candy bar that they were selling at the exhibit. Wow. And obviously the candy bar is gone. I don't know what happened to it. Someone probably ate it immediately, but probably in the Uber on the way home it was eaten. But
shout out to how you preserved the wrapper.
Yeah, because look how beautiful it is. I mean, just in terms of like the exhibit itself is really captured.
And that was another mini segment where Genia explains the item.
Done.
I love it.
And Mos Def, we could do a whole, and one day we should. We've talked about like really focusing in on specific people for a show. Mos Def is one of those people that's so complicated and beautiful and interesting. I would love for us to talk more about him. I feel like I've learned a lot about him.
Yes.
But let me ask you, I have a discussion.
Well, I do want to say one more thing in that I appreciate Sanaa and Taye Diggs. I really believe that Sanaa Lathan and Taye Diggs need a huge shout out. They defined a period of time for Black cinema. Sanaa and Taye were in so many movies. They were part of it's Sanaa Lathan. Sanaa. Sanaa and Taye Diggs, Sanaa Lathan and Taye Diggs were in so many things in that era of Black rom-com and Black cinema really being rich in the 90s and the early 2000s. Like they were a part of that. Yeah. And they've still hold their own and they've still been in other things, but just that era where just things just seem like back to back, we were getting movies for
Best
us
Man,
in the movie
VHS
theater.
of Best Man.
Exactly. They were couple in that movie. Like
Love and Basketball.
They were in so many things.
Yeah.
And so I just really appreciate that's another reason why I think this movie, I love it, is because they were a part of an era that we just haven't seen in a while. It's coming back. Shout out to like Lena Waithe and people like that, but it has been Issa Rae, like just this content that's coming out now, highlighting the nuance of Blackness. But it was a little silent for a little bit, or underground, if it would be a better way to say it. So.
That's so good, sis. And I, and I feel like everything you've just said in terms of your general sentimentality for that era, you've shared that before. I really love and appreciate that. And I one of the things that came from is what really is the question that gets asked and answered in this movie is about men and women and platonic relationships. I have a real perspective on this. Okay, you want to hear the Genia Wright perspective on this? But
we do.
I want to hear Aubrey's because we've talked about this. But bro, what is your perspective on like men and women, and I mean heterosexual men and women in platonic relationships? Is it possible?
Oh no, absolutely not. But well, the only time it's possible,
and I think you should say cisgender as well, because that gets more specific in there as well. Heterosexual, cisgender, romantic relationship, men and women.
No, it's not. It's not possible if there is any attraction either way. So, like, if there's no attraction, then yes. But if there's attraction either way, no. Now, can you act platonically? Yes. You can you respect each other in that way? Yes, that's possible. But an actual platonic friendship, no. If there's because platonic means free from attraction. So just by definition, you can't even do it. And I'll say that for me, that was, first of all, I'll be honest in saying I forgot how much I enjoyed this movie. I forgot how much I enjoyed this movie. But the part that Yeah, but the part that
Brittany for
that
Audio Land, Brittany just obsessively is continuing to show us her VHS and her DVD copies. Repeatedly, she's putting them in frame. So,
yeah,
just so
and
you know what's
as she will continue to do throughout the podcast. But I'll tell you, in any movie, you have to suspend your disbelief at some point in most movies.
Yeah.
And Brittany talks about, Brittany and I were talking about it even for a little bit. She's like, I mean, you're talking about, robots coming back from the future. And I'm like, I can accept that a lot more than two attractive people never hooking up ever. Like that is just would never happen. To me, the one change that they could have made in the movie that would have made everything gel more is if Dre was like a little fat boy. Like if Dre was like a little fat boy who had a lot of personality, he was fun, she loved hanging out with him. And even if you tried to ask her out a couple times, and she was just like, I don't see you like that or whatever like that. And then he blossomed into this, dude who got in shape and now he's successful. And now, he's got the hot.
I thought they addressed that. I thought they addressed that by not, like, the thing that they would have addressed by having him be someone that bloomed. I think they did address that by it being that the storyline of Sydney being so career driven that she didn't date at all. I mean, she literally didn't date, like, 'cause she was on her grind. And then the other thing about him is they had made him out to be a playboy. Because she's like, he's always just dating dum-dums. I can't remember what term she used, but they had kind of answered the question about how they hadn't.
I know how they tried to answer it. And yeah. I know.
And they were living in different cities.
I know what they tried to do. what I'm telling you is
what he wanted.
What I'm telling you is you two cannot name one circumstance where that has actually happened in real life, where two attractive people have known each other since they were kids and they never hooked up.
Absolutely not. No. I don't believe in platonic male-female relationships. Never
that's
have.
my whole life. I've been fat my whole life. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I'm saying outside of Brittany. All right, look, for everybody else in the world, I'm saying there is no circumstance.
The typical person, not the extraordinary.
Exactly, not the extraordinary. There is no chance that even if they met when they were in college, I could believe that.
But bro, what about the fact that Dre tried to go there?
No.
Does that answer it? Way. Does that resolve it? Because he tried.
Doesn't matter. You're not looking like Taye Diggs and Sanaa Lathan and not hooking up, and y'all knew each other since you were kids. That's not happening. I can even get back to like, they would decide that they didn't want to, go far that way, but you're telling me there's no trip, there's no situation where just like they eventually ended up hooking up, the first time that happened is when y'all 30. So get out of here. Like that's impossible. It just would never, ever happen, because when you are that close to somebody, you are always one move away from hooking up.
I agree, just bro.
One teeny thing. Like it could be like a Netflix night. It could be but there's just one thing.
You know what?
The level of chemistry required to be quote unquote best friends, right? The level of chemistry that requires is the exact same kind of chemistry that is required for a romantic relationship that can sustain itself. And so it's just, I just don't think it's real. But bro, I have to believe what you said about people being able to have discipline around it, to kind of
you could do that.
Well, that I also don't know if I've actually seen. I've heard tales, but
it's possible.
I don't know if I've seen it. It's just in terms of my own life. Well, I will say in terms of my life's journey. And I'll keep it real. Like, I don't have, if I look down my list of like my core friend group, it really is Black women. It really
Me
is. And
too.
I don't know if there was some point where I kind of like, you know, made that decision. Um, but I don't have men in, now again, I have male associates.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in terms of my core circle, I don't have any men in there. And I think part of it has just been that it's been reinforced for me over and over and over again in my own experience that if there is a man around and he wants to hang out with me that much, he wants to hang out with me that much.
Oh, I mean,
Okay.
and
So
Listen,
you
okay, now we are getting into an excellent spot as to why
and sometimes it goes the other way.
exactly. This is why platonic friends are like a unicorn. And it is because so I was someone that I used to believe that platonic friendship could happen. I honestly believe that with all my existence. Me and Janai used to go back and forth about it until I really just had to stop and go what and believe and have that conversation with myself with what Aubrey said, that unless there is no attraction, there is not someone has thought about it. Even if the attraction is not both ways,
Somebody thought about
somebody has entertained
and
it,
is open
even
to
if they
it.
didn't act, which then takes away the label of platonic because
Yup.
someone is then attracted. And
Yeah.
even if it comes to a sense where even if you weren't attracted, but then you started to at least think about it like, which because I had to evaluate my own self for a friend that happened with. I was like, oh, I see how things like this can happen now. I had to have that honest conversation with myself. But then getting into like this nature versus nurture, right? We as people are not even allowed to form platonic friendships, even if we wanted to, because from children, if you see a boy and a girl hanging out together, they're two little kids.
Ooh, you
They
so
have
right.
they have no idea what relationship is. They have no idea what romance is. She likes trucks and so do I. She likes the jungle gym and so do I. There is not anything about that. But what happens is we plant a seed and go,
That's your little boyfriend.
that's your
Yeah.
little boyfriend. We start
It's
doing
so
those
true.
things
Well, I'll
to
tell you.
kids.
I'll tell
Not
you.
saying
Maybe
that attraction is not there, but kids don't actually know. I don't think they know just yet why I want to be around this person so much. The concept of friend, though, we don't even allow the concept of friend to truly bloom. And I think
Before
that
we start
No,
making it
before
a possible
right,
romantic
exactly.
well,
connection.
let me tell
Oh,
you something.
so good.
Let me tell you something. I don't
So
know what it
true.
is to grow up as a woman, but I'm gonna tell you as a guy that I remember being in kindergarten when my attraction for women kicked in. And so from that point forward, like it had
So you
nothing
was
to do
running
with,
around hitting people in the head.
no, I'm saying that
Knocking
as a
girls
guy,
down.
and I'm not gonna put her name out there, but I remember being in kindergarten and that I could literally remember it. I could remember it being kicked on, and the reason why is there were these it was two of them, and what they would do is they would decide who their boyfriend was for the couple of days or whatever, and like and I
On
always
autonomy at a
and I
young
always
age.
and I
I choose
always
you. Yes.
and I'm just saying, I didn't consider myself like the cool kid, of course, in the class or whatever. And like for them, and so I used to admire that from afar, but I already was there. And, in terms of liking it, and one day they decided I was their boyfriend. And I was just like,
Wait, you was dating both of the girls?
I mean, it was kindergarten. I'm just saying that,
that is so funny to me.
It was
but I'm just saying
interesting.
They was
that was
already
that was
into
their thing.
polytheism.
That was their thing that they would do, so like that. And I remember seeing the other dude with hate on his face, and obviously only lasted like a day or two or something like that. But like, I'm just saying, I remember the first time we was living on 310 North Leg, and like the first time you see a woman would like, you might like get, if she's outside playing and she got a skirt on or something. And so like to me, those instincts, that's not nature. That's just, I don't know what it is growing up to be one. I'm talking about, for me though, that instinct turned on at a very, very young age. And it's been there since I could begin. And I'm just saying, as in knowing that, that's why I'm just saying, for me, the story would have rung so much truer if like he was just a dude that was chubby or ugly in some kind of way, but she liked him, but as a, he was cool. And like a lot of times if you're chubby or something like that, you got to have a better personality anyway. And what happens is if you're treated a certain way by women, once you figure it out, a lot of times it goes all the way in the other direction. Now you start being a player or whatever because of how you grew up. So they could have still used the same storyline. It just would have been in what would have actually happened. So I'm just saying, I feel like, and when women start getting attracted to men, it's been my experience that there's just no way you
one thing is for sure. You are two before somebody hands you a baby doll and tells you need a man to get to be the father. So, your concept of needing to couple and needing to be chosen by a man to couple, that's certainly women understand from very early on, even if they haven't started to grapple with attraction in a real way. It's very real.
And that's what I'm talking about.
I talk about it all the time.
And I wanted to correct the term real quick, sis. You said polytheism. That's
polyamory.
I'm sorry.
Because that's the religious.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But then it's like polyromantic or polyamorous or like even polygamous. It sounds like them
that's
little girls.
The word that I wanted to use.
Yeah, but
polygamous. But I appreciate that, because that narrative of two young ladies picking someone, first of all, just the word picking, that is not anything that you're, especially back in the day, we're talking about the 70s, 80s, and we're being raised by people who were born in the 40s and 50s. Like that is not like, that's new, right? Like that is at that young of an age. I just think about how amazing that was. Now, I don't know where those two young ladies are now. But just to have
I definitely don't want to make it.
No.
Yeah, because it wasn't.
I'm not. I don't mean to.
They don't know what a boyfriend is.
Right. They don't know what that is. But just the fact that they were saying that, because like Janai was just saying, we're given kitchens, baby dolls, easy bake ovens, Barbie, Ken, Skipper, like we're given strollers. Like these are things when you're walking down the girls section of toys and it's all pink. These are the things. But what's on the guys? Tyrannosaurus Rex, Tonka trucks, baseball bats, big fist things. Like there is not this concept of family and home.
Brittany, did you mean boxing gloves?
Thank you.
Big things. I had to do a Brittany translation for y'all. So me and Aubrey knew what she meant, but y'all wouldn't have known. That's why I had to help.
I appreciate it. And as podcast land gets to know me more, they'll know.
They'll know what you meant.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
These what Janai said, because I forgot them already. Boxing gloves.
It's boxing gloves.
You have sports equipment, all these different things that you have on a boy's toy section. It's like two different worlds, and then we want you to get together and build a family. I'm sorry, what? Well, so even when I was making jokes earlier, like, oh, so you were running around hitting people. That's what they used to tell girls. Oh, that means he likes you. No, he just knocked me down on the turf. That does not mean that.
You are not teaching us the right.
There's definitely a lot of discussion to be had about, gender roles and all that kind of stuff. All I'm saying is in my opinion, I don't think it doesn't matter how you would raise somebody. I don't think two people being attracted to each other would ever be able to be friends.
Well, bro, there were
no matter how you raise them.
There were two characters in the movie that played the role of being kind of like that obvious voice.
Is
the
that
voice
an
who was
antagonist
saying
or a protagonist?
these were two characters that were just saying the obvious thing, and that was Queen Latifah playing Sanaa Lathan's cousin, and it was Mos Def playing the burgeoning hip hop artist for
Abby.
Right, for Dre. And so in both cases, you know, Queen Latifah's character was like, listen, she was Sid's cousin, right? She's like, get your man. You obviously want to be with him. Get your man. Get him. So she was at the wedding saying, you about to let her marry your man. That's your man.
And wasn't even being quiet.
Wasn't being quiet.
It was like that character was playing was the vocal conscience of Sydney, and then it was the same thing for Mos Def. Mos Def was like, "You are such a punk." Related, this is what he's saying to Dre. He was like, "Listen, you being a punk, you want Sydney,
you being Humphrey Bogart."
Yo, can I tell you? I know this isn't the exact point you're trying to make, but can I just tell you that Mos Def and Queen Latifah, but Mos Def for me just killed it in this movie. So every scene he did perfectly. Like there were moments where
I gotta get the character's name. Francine was Queen Latifah's cousin. Was Sid's cousin, and the character that Mos Def was playing was named Kavi.
And I would just tell you, every single scene he killed. So and I so you know, it's right from the beginning when he was playing Dre, and Dre was trying to give him his card, and he was like, "Yeah, you know, but I know where you at. I'm gonna come find." And then when he ran into him, and you know, of course, that was a little serendipitous, but again, suspension of disbelief. And they're in the cab, and he was like, "Oh, so you like the hip hop Grinch?" You want to go give all the artists they're publishing.
This is why you need Black writers and Black directors.
Oh my God.
Because that was such a Black people scene. That little exchange right there.
Yes.
Like that was done
and
so
Taye did so well. He was like, let me out the cab. No, you hurt my feelings. I was cracking up. Man.
And
you hurt my feelings.
Relationship.
You know, and then when he went back to see him, and like you could just see somebody like that who was playing that character, and he was like, you know, okay, you want to do something for me, you know?
Watch that back seat.
He gave him the watch the back seat. He was like, no, if that's too gully for you, he was like, no, I'm gully. I'm gully. And he got on the turtleneck. You know, and I'm just saying, like,
and that turtleneck was with a warm-up suit. It was a warm-up suit. Exactly.
There are moments there are moments in these movies that obviously are painful for me. Like a lot of the interactions between Dre and what's her name
Sanaa.
in the movie.
Oh, Sydney. Dre and Sydney.
Yeah, Sydney. I mean, those are just like fingernails on the chalkboard. But like every scene between Mos Def and Queen Latifah, I loved all of them. I love how Queen Latifah ain't respect this whole union between them because it wasn't respectable, man. In her mind, it's like, yeah, I can talk loud because this ain't what it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like, and she wasn't over the top. And that's the other thing I loved about how she played that character, was that she was off the hook, but she wasn't. You know how they play those characters?
She wasn't a caricature. She wasn't a caricature.
Janiyah, she wasn't a caricature.
Not at all.
She was just
a cousin.
The outspoken cousin. That's like, I need you to walk in your truth. This is your man.
She said, you will let her marry your man? That's your man. She said, she about to marry your man.
It was funny because she was like, because the night before, which we're talking about, you guys, is that Dre, the night before his bachelor party, the night of, excuse me, his bachelor party. He and Sid, he came over to Sid's house because he was just down about things that were happening with the label. And he was just, just getting kind of, just really depressed about his job. And so she encouraged him. Now, this is where, for me, I was like, you all do not have a normal friendship. I have never hugged any of my male friends that way that I consider just to be my friend. And so they have this hug and they have a moment where they kiss, and he pulls down the outfit that she has on and they're about to get into it, but they both stop. They both stop and he leaves. And then the wedding is the next day. And this is the part that they're talking about when Queen Latifah's like, why you look at you like you just have, like you have a third breast? And she is like, and she was like,
so
nothing.
Good.
And Queen Latifah just looked at her for a second and she was like, oh, y'all did it. You little hoe.
Exactly how cousins
it was when her Sid is like trying to like
keep her quiet.
Like, and she was like, no, basically we just kissed, a little bit, and then she was like, was her tongue? She was like, oh, and that's the other thing that made look, that's, I'm gonna tell you, like, I feel like Queen Latifah and Mos Def, in every scene that they were with Taye Diggs and Sanaa Lathan, they elevated them, man. Because like
absolutely
even the scenes that they had with them were so good because it just gave them something to play off of it.
And they helped move the story along. They helped move the story along, and they added a lot of humor. I just thought, sometimes you have the friend character or the cousin character, and they just seem excessive. They're not adding value. They're just there for the sake of showing a relationship.
Yes.
These characters, I felt like they really were moving the story along, challenging the primary character to articulate certain thoughts.
Yes.
I thought they just did a great job of being in relationship with the characters in an authentic way. And there's another relationship I wanted us to talk about, and I have to get your thoughts. And Brittany, I wanted to hear your thoughts on Nicole Ari Parker's character. Her name was Reese. And the relationship with her husband, eventually ex-husband. What did you think of that relationship between Dre and Reese?
You know what? I really appreciated because Sid's voice was the voiceover for the whole movie. She was the narrator for the movie. And I appreciated Sid's narration when they were at the wedding after she said, I do. And she likened it to how hip hop no longer was just this private thing amongst really the Black community. It became accessible to all ethnicities in a way that it had never been before. And just accessible to the world. So it was no longer private and kind of sector the way she was describing it in the movie. And so that marriage of hip hop to mainstream. Yes. And so she was watching Dre, i.e. Or hip hop, marry himself to someone that was not him. She was and there's nothing wrong with opposites attracting. That happens all the time.
That's right.
But the issue is that you're not being yourself. You're eating things that you don't normally eat. You are up here, you are purchasing things you can't afford. You're doing all these different things and they're not you. And for that, so to watch that relationship happen, it was really something that made sense, even in terms of him dating someone that is this thin, model-esque, not average type looking woman. Like, this is who I'm supposed to be with.
Sure.
And this is and so I think watching that relationship, while I think that there was genuine fondness of each other, it was too easy for Reese to start to entertain other people. Reese she needed to even have a moment to say, like, are you even really in this? Because she needed moments to even think about that, because him pursuing his dream, shouldn't that make you happy? And I understood her frustration as well. He didn't discuss with her that dream, right? He just quit his job and came home. That's going to frustrate anyone.
Yep.
But when you're having this tug and tool, this then begs the question, why would you say yes, Reese, to him without actually exploring and continuing to see his friendship with Sid? That is another thing that becomes that self-exploration as to why you would even stay. And I think about
now
the ending of them.
Their relationship was born while Sid was in another country. I mean, another city.
Right.
So you have to remember, like, Dre and Reese, they got to really have their and again, I don't think it was long. I think it was fast because Sydney was mocking it.
It was quick.
But they had a chance to form the relationship with Sydney's role in Dre's life being via phone calls and text messages, which is very different.
And stories. So that's it.
She accepted the proposal before she got a chance to see what the dynamic would be when they were living in the same city. I'm not saying that.
I agree with you.
Sound decision or whatever.
Right.
But I did want to just name, like, I don't think that it was as real a factor for her when she accepted the proposal as it became.
I will say what I believe is a factor for her is that he checked boxes. Was she actually in love with him? I think that she loved him. Do you know, if we can get into two different things, love and in love, right? Do I believe she loved him? Yes. But and that he was who she was supposed to be with. And that working on a marriage, I feel like she was more so concerned about them throwing that away versus if we still need to be together, if this is still something that we're supposed to have. So I will say I appreciate the realness of that relationship, in a sense that people get together who you could do well if you want to manage it, but are you really supposed to be together? Or is this person supposed to be just a part of a season of your life for whatever reason that they're supposed to be there? So yeah, that
I will tell you, I gotta say, I liked their relationship a lot more than I'm confused about why I liked their relationship so much, but I did. I liked the way that they were challenging each other professionally. I think that it is true that he made a big life decision without talking to her, but I also think she was ready to roll with it. I think she was doing the hard work to try to figure out how to roll with it and make it work. And I also think that the two of them perhaps were in love, but I also think that means different things to different people. And the reason why I kind of still have a little warm and fuzzy about their relationship. And again, she cheated on him. It seemed as if she had never been faithful at all, frankly. But I still like the fact that at the end they could walk away in a way that was friendly. Like, violations had been made, but they were able to be mature enough to kind of say, we're not good together. We're not it. We don't have that level of what it requires decision to be together. But I appreciated that. I thought that was a mature breakup.
Well, so I will say it was a mature breakup, but the only thing I will push back on is, was she doing the work to agree with what Dre had going on? And I would say no.
Okay.
And the reason why is because if you remember the boxing scene when they're at the gym, she's like, I just appreciate it. Now, this is a scene between Reese and Sid, and they're going back and forth, which one part of me makes mad because, and I guess it was supposed to be funny the way Sid was fighting during this little scene. But just the conversation between them was that Sid was respecting what Dre was doing and understood it on a deeper level than Reese was understanding it. And Reese was also grappling with, I don't really know Dre because she says to her, he lets you in a way that he won't, I have to beg for. She was like, and the things that you already know, I have to beg for them. And so comes to a place where it's like, can we move past that and grow into it, or can't we? And I think I think for her, you need to, if you really were trying to fight, I would need you to step into his world a little more. How often did you visit when he was recording late? How often did you stay up to when he got home to ask him how was the recording? Instead of being just really upset at this thing and not allowing you guys to move past this, or at least get some counseling and work through it. You're not doing that. You're stewing. Yeah. And that is one of the worst things you can do in a relationship if you want to fight for the relationship. And I don't think that either one of them wanted to fight anymore. I think that the two of them just wanted to be done and be peaceful and be done.
You've given us the perfect segue to the hip hop portion of the movie, because I have a question for you, bro. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying that. I just, because you're about to move on, I think that all the relationships ring very true, except for Sid and
Aubrey wanted them.
No. Sid,
he just thinks they would have got together already.
What I'm saying is that even the whole movie could have been the same if they would have hooked up once or twice. Like you could have even left them everything the same. But so I'm saying outside of that, I don't want to get back into that. The point I'm trying to make is all the other relationships rang true, because it's been my experience that there are different levels of love, and that you can fall into love, especially checking the boxes that both of you were talking about. This person I'm attracted to them. They have this type of career. They push me in this way. And everything on paper makes sense.
Yep.
And it's not fake. You actually feel the love and you feel the attraction. And if your life goes on with no adversity, I believe you could have a very happy life with this person. It's just that adversity will expose that. When you're on those checklist type of love, adversity is going to expose that. What Sid and Dre are soulmates, and that is a different level.
Can we pause, honey? You just said something. Drop the mic.
I'm saying when you love somebody on that level, like it exists outside of sense. Like it's something that. So like even how the relationship ended, Sid and Dre, that rang true to me. Yeah. So even that was because the whole process of them discovering how in sync they were on that level, that's just like, you can't explain this, man. It's just what it is. It's the same way bees are attracted to flowers. Every once in a while, there'll just be somebody who just, you are like that when you enter each other's space. And the thing is that most people don't even know that that's out there. And so like when you're in a relationship like Dre and Reese, you think this is it. You think this is the pinnacle because this is everything that, just like Sid and what's the NBA numbers that Boris played? Kelby. So you got a dude who bought out a restaurant so that you all can sit there.
Hold on though. Did he cook for you? Because you saw me cook for you. Did he
I was so sad.
I would have let go of my soulmate for Boris Kodjoe. I just want to let y'all know.
I'm just letting you know.
I'd have lived my whole life in sadness about not having my soulmate. Well, say right courtside.
I mean, Boris
Kelby. Boris, like play that game.
And even him.
Shut up.
Even his character rang very true because of what you're not talking about. Because the thing about Boris is one of them dudes that if you're a dude and you can't be like, all right, I get it. Like you're just just not even being honest. You're like I get it. You know what I'm saying? And like the thing about Boris is that Boris was not a deep dude, but like Kelby was not a deep dude.
He wasn't.
But like when somebody grows up looking like Helby and being a superstar athlete and all of that. You don't have to get deep for real because, you know, why? All you need to do is get deep on doing this exercise and, you know, maximizing that.
I'm fine
and so
with
that's the point I'm trying to make is that would be for
so you
most,
didn't read my article. You did 1,000 sit-ups yesterday.
You don't.
Good work,
and
honey.
I'm telling you, I have friends who I know who've had that experience.
Yeah.
Where it's like there are
you just cute.
women, but not. It's just
right.
more
like,
than cute.
Yeah, it's
all
more than
that
cute.
stuff.
Yeah.
You're rich. You're an NBA player. You're all these things. I won't have a worry in my life if I'm with you. And I'm saying.
And not to mention, it's 0 to a 10, basically. Like you're not talking to anybody. You're not gelling with nobody. I'm cool. I'm just doing work. I don't
and
got
then
time.
This could work.
I got a massage. I got a massager from Brooks.
That's the thing. This could
That's
work.
the point. They would have been very happy.
Absolutely.
If nothing else happened, they would have had a happy life. There wouldn't have been, you know, she'd have been a little, you know, but eventually they'd have been cool.
Absolutely.
You know, because he didn't. It wasn't even that he was disregarding her. His brain just doesn't tick like that. You know what I'm saying? His brain. So the point I'm trying to make is yes, Janai. I felt like all of those relationships rang very true. And the thing that I loved about it was they weren't bad relationships.
Yeah,
they weren't relationships.
They were not bad relationships.
Were treating each other bad. It's just that Sid and Dre are soulmates, and you know what, bro? You're in the space of your soulmate, eventually that's how it's going to go.
And yeah, if they're right there all the time, and you're pretending your soulmate is your platonic friend, that's a setup for
that's like missing out on life.
And you think about what Reese and Dre didn't have, you know, when they had so much of the stuff. Yes. What they didn't have. And I wonder if Reese had been a true hip hop fan, if Reese had been a person that wouldn't negate Sid's soulmateness, that wouldn't negate that. But if Reese had been a person that had been passionate about hip hop, someone that he could talk to about hip hop on any level other than this is my job, she would have had a fighting chance. They could have really made it work.
Because there are many people.
Or what if he would have read the article?
Exactly.
If he would have read the article,
you know what I mean? Like
no conversation.
It's just so. It was
one off.
It's just you're so close. But I was pulling out the hip hop piece to segue to the hip hop piece because, bro, so listen. I am a person I'm really on the journey. You know, to become a person that really truly can appreciate hip hop. But even I, on my journey, was able to get excited about some of these cameos. It was like I'm going to read out the list. Big Daddy Kane, Cool G Rap, Pete Rock, De La Soul, Tariq Trotter, who's Black Thought, Jermaine Dupri, Talib Kweli. How you pronounce his name?
Talib Kweli.
Common, Method Man, Slick Rick, Dana Dane, Jen Taylor, Dougie Fresh, Amir Thompson, who's Questlove, Russell Simmons, Fabulous, Beanie Siegel, Angie Martinez, Kimora Lee. So anyway, I knew those faces.
There were two more in the background. Donnell Jones was in the background at the party, as was Olivia. She's a rapper. They were both in the background. So yeah, I was like, they really.
And there was another person who we can mention, Lamar Rucker, who's from Pittsburgh.
Yep, there you go.
Was it a movie? Yep. This is just I know I don't want to get off, but I'm just saying.
In that initial scene, the cipher where we got to see them fall in love with hip hop, they had Black and Latinx people in that scene. And I appreciate that because what I've been learning recently is about the fact that Latinx people were there. We think like, in my shallow understanding of hip hop, I have really coveted it as a Black people thing, but I am understanding now that at the origins of hip hop in this country, Latinx people were right there. And so I love that they portrayed that. But bro, I would love to hear your thoughts on the hip hop, just because y'all were tight on time. The hip hop aspects of the movie, the way that it showed up, the way that they were calling it out, calling it in. How did you feel about it, bro?
They did it in my mind flawlessly. Like I forgot this soundtrack, first of all, because back in that era, the soundtrack with the movie was like, that was like two sides of the coin.
Mattered.
Yeah.
It
And
mattered.
Brown Sugar has one of the best soundtracks.
It's so dope.
Ever in life. It has no weak spots, and the entire, it's just amazing.
Wow.
And it also goes with the narrative of the story. Every song that they played at every moment was perfect. And I'm gonna also speak to, I know they were doing caricatures, but every caricature was perfect. The Hip Hop Dalmatians. The Hip Hop Dalmatians, like when they brought them in, I'm gonna have a black mink with white spots, and I'm gonna have a
chinchilla
with black spots, and it's gonna be chinchilla.
Gimmick.
It's the whole unity
in the studio, and they're singing, "The hoe is mine."
Gotta get her. Gotta get her.
It's like you know, it's like Michael Jackson, and it's like, no, it's not.
It's absolutely.
And the thing is that as you see hip hop, because I used to love her song, just outlines it perfectly, because you're happy that rap music is spreading the way it is, but just when you're a person who's seen how it's evolved, it does hurt you on some level that, you know, to see where it's gone. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even if you don't begrudge it and you don't want to take away, you still want it to do whatever it is. But it's like, yo, hip hop was just so important to so many people's lives. And then anytime somebody sees that get commercialized, it's always, you know, difficult on some level to watch. And they just house that perfectly. And then seeing the juxtaposition versus Mos Def's character, who was the epitome of, I just love this. This is just what I do. I mean, it was just perfect. And even something that was small when his name, what was his name? It was Kelby, when he was coming to Mos Def's character and saying, yeah, you know, rent out the whole venue, got marriage on my venue. And he was like, you know, it's my album. It's my album.
Athletes that become rappers.
I'm not,
he was like Rick rhyming.
Look,
or something.
I'm not calling nobody out, because there were some rappers who've come out with songs that, you know, I like or collaborated with. But what I'm talking about is that the rappers who made songs or albums in that era, they were able to come out with an album because they were famous already. They would have never made it through the curing process that allowed you to pop out as a top rapper in previous eras or in the original, because in the original, the thing that made rap so great was that if you popped out on top, it was because you were the best. It was because you had the best lyrics. You've battled people. You've done all of this work. You've been on trains with a backpack, riding to different cities, going to shows, battling people and putting your name out there. And then you got to be on top. And it's like you get to circumvent the whole process just because you're NBA starting this again, like, all right, whatever.
You know, the same thing happens in comedy nowadays. It's just, people are just getting, I know we're tight on time, y'all, but bro, what you just talked about, I think we have to wrap on that note. Bro, what you just talked about, it does give me a chance to just pitch for our audience what our next episode is going to be. Normally we do it at the very end, but bro, what you just said. So our next episode is going to be on a documentary. This will be our first documentary, y'all. And we're going to do a documentary called Stretch and Bobbito, Radio That Changed Lives. And Stretch and Bobbito, they became unlikely legends of hip hop radio. And so we're actually going to be able to continue this conversation on our next episode about the journey and in its origins, what was their journey to actually becoming a hip hop artist of note? What did it take to get there?
Can I tell you, I'm already starting my self-work to not talk over,
to allow other people to participate. Okay.
This is the thing about Janai. Even when you're admitting your weaknesses and you're working to overcome them, if you're her big brother, she will still take the opportunity to kick you a little, just
true.
a little bit.
Also, we know he lying.
Oh, no, I'm gonna work. I promise.
Listen, any of our listeners that
lying.
listen to the Terminator podcast already
Die
know.
Hard. Let's go. How many?
When Aubrey
I
gets
promise.
rolling and he loves it.
Star Wars.
Because
He
you know
wants
that's
to
just
share.
that was a great segue, and I'm telling you that is going to house. It's going to show exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I can't wait.
I do want to say, because on one of the topics we always talk about, and that is the videography. I'm losing the words.
You got the gist.
Cinematography.
Thank you, cinematography. It was so well done.
Beautiful.
In this movie.
Actually,
even the
visually
parts,
stunning.
Even the
it was
parts
visual
where
art.
Yes, it was.
You were in New York. Like you knew
Absolutely.
you were in New York. And the parts that were even beautiful, how they were able to do, you know how they do a look back scene, you know, something to the past. They didn't have to have a whole situation. Dre was just looking down the street and you could see him imagining him and Sid when they were younger running down the stairs of a brownstone. So I just appreciated the cinematography in this, even highlighting using graffiti, you know, all these different things that were very hip part of the hip hop culture.
But sis, you said you don't consider this to be a hood film. Bro, do you consider this to be a hood movie?
I don't. Did I just say something that made it hood?
Well, you just talked about, as we have defined hood movies in the past. For the sake of this podcast, you hit a couple of the boxes there. About
Which are?
things that you were talking about, the neighborhood really being a part of the story. You were talking about the graffiti and the way that it was embodying the time. I don't know.
It's not a hood movie. This is a black rom-com.
Honestly, I don't want to get, because I feel like that's a whole conversation we got.
Bro, I do think you have to give an answer.
I think
pressure.
It's not a movie. It's just not. It's not.
If I had a shelf with hood movies, it would probably be on the shelf. Like if I had a shelf with like Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood, I still think
Dear Presidents. What?
I think I would put Love Jones.
Well, y'all, listen, we have not always been in agreement about this. I'm not surprised we're not all in agreement now. I would call this a hood movie. There have been movies where y'all have been confident that something was a hood movie, and even the internet agreed with you, but I didn't agree. And I think of this is to me a hood movie because there was the New Yorkness was important to the movie
because it was about the hood.
And I don't think
that gonna make me acquiesce to this. I don't like
New York the way that they did. I just don't think so. So that's why I would call it a hood movie.
All right, we gotta vote. We
do.
Okay.
Well, that's it. So we are now gonna vote. Does Brown Sugar is Brown Sugar a classic from the Wright perspective? Bro, does it get your park bench?
Yes, it gets my park bench. But I just want to say, not just like there are a lot of reasons, and I just want to say that I forgot how much this movie has penetrated my daily culture of my life. Me and my like I have a friend that we still talk about. Mugu got all across the land. Mugu got pan
from the best Chinese restaurant in the land.
You know what I'm saying? Like we still do that. We still talk about, you know, hip hop Dalmatians. We still talk about with a dude, he's going to the fog with a dude.
With some other dude.
Even the part
you don't know where he was
talking about Humphrey Bogart.
Even the part that even my least favorite part of the movie, we still joke about to this day. We'll just randomly come out like, Sid, I know he said Sydney, but in our memories, Sid, when did you fall in love with him? Like we'll still joke about it to this day. So, and many of the songs that are on that track are still my favorite songs to this day. So yes, it is a classic from multiple different levels from my perspective.
Yes. Shout out to Erykah Badu, honey.
Yeah, and I will also
we could do a podcast on the soundtrack.
that
but
says
just
it.
go ahead.
Well, I will tell you, this movie does get my park bench, and it doesn't get it for the reason I thought I was going to give it. I thought it was going to get my park bench because I love a good romantic movie.
Right.
And when a romantic movie is well done, oh, I'm sold, because then it isn't just about the romance, it's the larger story. But this movie is getting my park bench for that reason and for so much more. The casting, perfect. Every single portrayal was so well done.
Yeah.
And what we always talk about is what makes something a classic is would it still be good 20 years from now? And the answer with this movie is yes. If I'm clicking through and I just looking for something to watch, would I stop to watch this movie no matter where it is in the movie? Yes, I would. And could I see myself on a rainy day when I just need some comfort? Like, oh, I just want to have a good time sitting here by myself for a minute, putting on Brown Sugar? Yes. That's what makes it a classic. So it definitely gets my park bench. Sis?
Listen, even the side characters like Aunt Betty at the bridal shower.
So
Come
good.
on, every single
Romulus.
portrayal.
That's that shake dancer
Yeah.
down at the. It was like Aunt Betty. Wait a minute.
And y'all, the fact that this movie doesn't have awards from some of the major white award entities is truly effed up.
I'm so happy we
this
recognize
movie
it though.
really, truly does. It sits right there with all those other ones, My Best Friend's Wedding and all of that. It is even better than many of those mainstream white movies that get so much fanfare as rom-coms. This movie had all of that, but so much more. So much more.
Wow.
Does it get your park bench?
I mean,
Okay. All right.
I mean,
She's
are we
been sitting on the
serious?
bench the whole podcast.
Listen, I am sitting on the bench with a microphone and a stereo,
Doing a
with-
cipher.
with my
and the
pen,
ones and
doing a
twos.
cipher on the
And
one.
Janiyah, you have homework for our next podcast.
Listen,
Yes.
I
love homework.
You need to figure out what ones and twos are.
Dang it.
And I want you to really do this one.
Okay.
I want you to know what ones and twos are, and I want a brief history on the evolution of it. I can't wait to hear your
Wonderful.
research.
oh well, good. I'm
All
happy
right.
I don't have that homework. I know what the ones and twos are, but I don't want no evolution.
Oh, you'll know in our next episode, sis.
It's not gonna be hard. It's not gonna be hard, but I think we're gonna have a lot of fun.
You
I think
all,
we're gonna have a
I
lot of fun.
love homework.
All right.
Homework is my sweet spot.
she's a weirdo.
And that's why she had a 4.9 growing up. All right, so this one was fun, y'all. They're all fun, but this one was fun.
This
too.
was a lot of fun. Good pick, sis. Good pick.
Great pick, sis.
Thanks for tuning in,
Thank
everybody. Brown Sugar is a classic from the Wright Perspective. Catch you next time, everybody. Bye.
Bye.